Holy crap, folks. The royal family's worst nightmare just became reality. We have former Prince Andrew was dragged away in handcuffs this morning by British police. And get this, it happened on his 66th birthday. The Epstein files have finally caught up with the royal family, and somebody's about to pay the price. But here's what they're not telling you about this arrest. So this isn't just another celebrity scandal, guys. This is the complete implosion of the British monarchy's credibility. For years, we've watched the establishment protect their own while ordinary citizens are faced justice for far less crimes. Walk across the street, you go to jail. You go to Jeffrey Epstein's island, they're going to protect you. But now we have King Charles has to watch his own brother get perped walk like a common criminal. But here's what's really at stake. If they can finally go after a literal freaking prince, what does this mean for the rest of the elite power structure? Are we witnessing the beginning of real accountability? Or is this just another, dog and pony show to appease the masses? The global establishment is watching this very carefully because if Prince Andrew goes down, he's taking secrets with him that could destroy everything. So, and speaking of the establishment protecting themselves, let me tell you something about what's really happening behind the scenes. Something's brewing, folks. You can feel it in the air. And the problem? You never know the full story until after the fact, after the crash, and after the collapse. After it's too late. And here's the brutal truth. You cannot protect yourself after it happens. You have to be ready now. All this uncertainty, the chaos we're seeing, the warning signs, they're flashing everywhere. They may be telling us something massive is coming, but that's why I trust Noble Gold Investments. While the elites play their games and the system crumbles around us, smart Americans are moving their wealth into physical gold and silver. Noble Gold helps you roll over your IRA or 401k into precious metals because when everything else fails, gold endures. But don't wait until it's too late. Call Noble Gold today because your financial future depends on the decisions you make right now. I will say this, though. There's a kicker. Andrew's arrest happened at Sandringham Estate, where the royal family thought he'd be safe from prying eyes. And they were wrong. The police didn't just show up with a warrant. They brought search teams to multiple properties, actually going through all of his stuff. They're tearing apart his life, looking for evidence, and sources say they found communications that could implicate other high-profile figures. And this rabbit hole goes deeper than anybody imagined. We're going to get into it now, guys. Let's check out what we have here. We've got an next post from Benny Johnson saying, flashback. Virginia Giuffre says that she was trafficked to Prince Andrew. I was young. Ghislaine woke me up in the morning and said, you're going to meet a prince today. I didn't know at that point I was going to be trafficked to a prince. I happened to be in the car with it. Let's see what she has to say.
First time in London, I was so young. Ghislaine woke me up in the morning and said, you're going to meet a prince today. I didn't know at that point that I was going to be trafficked to that prince. And then that night, Prince Andrew came to her house in London, and we went out to Club Tramp. Prince Andrew got me alcohol. It was in the VIP section. I'm pretty sure it was vodka. Prince Andrew was like, let's dance together. And I was like, okay. And we leave Club Tramp, and I hop in the car with Ghislaine and Jeffrey. And Ghislaine said he's coming back to the house.
That's how it starts. They find people, they brit them up, they make them feel safe, and then they sit there and do that to them. So it says, this sets up the victim testimony that makes today's arrest so significant. Now let's see who predicted this would happen years ago. Video resurfacing from Gunther Egelman says that President Trump in 2015 absolutely nailed Prince Andrew years before the arrest. He stated that island was a cesspool, no questions about it. Let's see.
You raised the question of Jeffrey Epstein in your remarks about in the Q&A.
Well, I think he's got a problem.
What do you think the problem will be?
I don't know, but that island was really a cesspool. There's no question about it. Just ask Prince Andrew. He'll tell you about it.
Trump's been sitting here playing 5D chess on the Democrats. He's like, I don't know anything about it. He just went backwards completely. For years, he's been on the Epstein kick, telling everybody the secrets that were going on. He was even one of the FBI's whistleblowers on this. And when things happened, they arrested Jeffrey Epstein the first time. Trump had talked to the Palm Beach Police Department, thanking them for what they did. And he went out and told the Democrats, I don't know anything about it, then made the Democrats demand that these files be released because they thought Trump was in them. He outsmarted these guys, and now their entire structure around them is collapsing. So we've got Trump's 2015 comments prove this wasn't a surprise to those paying attention. And today, that prediction became reality. From Gunther Egelman again, UK's former Prince Andrew has been arrested over links to Jeffrey Epstein. The UK arrested somebody before we did, which is absolutely true. We got a big old mug of Prince Andrew. Look at those eyes there. He just looks like a crazy guy. So the arrest is confirmed, but the evidence, against Andrew goes much deeper than just the Epstein connections. We're back to Benny Johnson saying, British royal advisor caught on hidden camera exposing to a James O'Keefe undercover journalist that Prince Andrew was having some pretty bad stuff going on. And I can't say that on the channel. Hopefully we'll be safe on the video. Let's see.
Prince Andrew, he was in the Navy. He was 250 days at sea. He never saw his family. I was really pissed because he lied to me about Epstein. And then I did a big thing in the Daily Mail saying that I believed Andrew. And then I found out he was lying. I was so pissed. No, that he was f***ing underage girls. That's not cool.
John Bryan has been a close confidant to the British royal family for a long time. He worked for Queen Elizabeth II, was, quote, best friends with Princess Diana, and had a long-term intimate relationship with the Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson. According to Bryan, he practically raised Sarah Ferguson's children, the princesses Beatrice and Eugenie. And Bryan said that he maintained a friendship with Ferguson's husband, the Duke of York, Prince Andrew.
Tell me your story.
So my story, you want to know my story?
What?
I've been so famous at times when I was on the front page of every newspaper on the planet because I was working with the Queen of England.
Okay.
She's Queen Elizabeth. I was working.
Does that kind of stuff really work?
Princess Diana, my best friend. And I met Duchess of York.
Okay.
That's Prince Andrew's wife. They were separated. And then Sarah and I sort of fell in love. And we lived together for 7 years, 6 or 7 years, in my house in England. And I raised their 2 little children. They're so cute.
Wait, her kids?
Beatrice and Eugenie. Those were my children. Those were my kids. I raised those kids.
That's crazy.
Day to day raised. I was 5.
It looks like he's had more than a couple drinks in there, but he pretty much said that he knew this whole thing. He was one of the fixers for the royal family. He came out a couple years ago, made a couple statements when Andrew was removed from being prince about some of his connections and ties. And he was a fixer for the royal family. So that hidden camera confession shows Andrew's lies were exposed long before today, and police have been building their case. But why haven't they done anything until the pressure comes out? It took Trump releasing 3.5 million documents for this to happen. What about the Me Too movement? What about all of these people and all the things that have been going on for so long? But I guess a Me Too only refers when the conservative teachers or there's somebody that's on the Republican side, because anytime a Democrat is called out, they circle the wagons and they do their best to protect their own. From the shadow of Ezra, we have former Prince Andrew has been arrested on his 66th birthday of suspicion of misconduct in public office over his links to Jeffrey Epstein's trafficking network. And police are carrying out searches in Berkshire and Norfolk. And you know what? I wonder if he's going to have some criminal implications inside of the U.S. because a lot of those women, they came from Florida. Let's see.
The police have arrested Andrew Mountbatten Windsor. It's an extraordinary revelation and development on this story involving the Epstein files and all the allegations that have been swirling around about Andrew over the many years, from Virginia Giuffre, now sadly deceased, and since then, and certainly what's been contained in the Epstein files as released in the last few weeks. But the police have arrived at Sandringham Estate this morning, where Andrew has made his new home. It's his 66th birthday today. What a birthday present that is. He has been arrested by the police. Of course, the brother of the current king, the second son of our late Queen Elizabeth. This is an extraordinary development. Those of us who've been talking an awful lot about establishment cover-ups and lack of, should we say, interest by the police in what are very, very serious allegations against Andrew. Perhaps pleased that that pressure has finally been put on the police and they have done the job of actually looking into these issues seriously. Must bear in mind, of course, that the Prince has not been charged with any crime at this point, and he has always denied any wrongdoing in relation to any of the allegations.
So I wonder what Trump and the Department of Justice is doing on the back end that actually made the British monarchy arrest one of their own. I have not heard of that happening in a very long time, and I tried to find some historical context on it, and I couldn't. Maybe somebody in the chat, you guys can find that and send that over to us. So the arrest details are crucial, but the timing and the scale of this operation shows how serious authorities are about taking this case. From Nick Sorter, holy crap, former Prince Andrew has been arrested by British police following revelations of the newly released Epstein files. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the youngest brother of King Charles, was taken into custody. Let's see.
And we have some breaking news, some stunning news out of London. Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, the former Prince Andrew, has been arrested, presumably in connection with his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein. I want to go straight to our foreign correspondent, James Longman.
Hi, George. Yes, extraordinary news out of the UK this morning. The former Prince Andrew Mountbatten Windsor, has this morning been arrested on the Sandringham Estate where he was living after having been removed, of course, from the home he was living in Windsor. The Thames Valley Police, the police here in the UK, put out a statement. They haven't named him specifically, but they are saying a man in his 60s has been arrested. As part of the investigation, they say we have today arrested a man in his 60s from Norfolk on suspicion of misconduct in public office and are carrying out searches at addresses in Berkshire and Norfolk. They say the man remains in police custody at this time. They are not, like I say, naming Andrew, but we know that it is him. This pertains to emails, we believe, that were published recently in the most recent Epstein files published by the Department of Justice, which seem to suggest, they allege that Andrew was forwarding emails to Jeffrey Epstein whilst he was trade envoy here in the UK. Now, as a public official, that is misconduct. That is what the police are alleging. That's the charges that they presumably are bringing to him if they do indeed charge him. He is under arrest and remains in custody for that. We will wait and see what further details they are yet to give us. But, you know, as trade envoy, he spent more than 10 years traveling around the world on behalf of the British government to kind of foment relationships with other countries to better Britain's kind of economic outlook, if you like. That was seen as a member of the royal family could do this. His status would provide Britain with that kind of heft on the world stage. But the emails from the Department of Justice suggest that when he was in these conversations in places like Singapore, Hong Kong, I've got a list here in front of me, other countries that he went to, he would then have these kind of confidential documents in these emails, and then it looks like he was forwarding them on to Jeffrey Epstein, another one here from Vietnam, another from China. So if you look at the date on some of these emails as well, that is what is interesting. One
Just
of them
insider
here in front
trading?
of me, from 2010. Of course, that's well after Jeffrey Epstein had already faced charges for soliciting sex from a minor. So that goes to the heart of this
should probably be
entire
added on the
issue
charges.
around Andrew and Epstein. The relationship that he had with that convicted sex offender went far beyond the time which he said that he had broken all contact with him. People at home might remember the disastrous interview he gave in 2019 to the BBC, where he said that he had traveled to the United States, to New York, to sever his ties with Jeffrey Epstein, that he was there to basically explain to him that he no longer wanted to be in communication with him. These emails from the Department of Justice suggest that that was not true, that he basically lied about his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein in that interview. He has always denied, we should say, any wrongdoing when it comes to the allegations about sex trafficking. Virginia Giuffre, of course, the individual who alleged that she was sex trafficked by Epstein for sex with Andrew, he has denied that strenuously. We haven't had comment from him or the palace on these latest allegations about emails to Jeffrey Epstein in his position as trade envoy. But one imagines that at some point today, Buckingham Palace will have to release some kind of statement. They are yet to comment. But we are in the extraordinary situation where the brother of the king has been arrested. To my mind, that has never happened in the modern history of the royal family.
I couldn't find it either.
Certainly, this has shaken this country. It's been a long time coming. I think many people would look at this and say, Andrew should have faced justice a long time ago.
Yeah,
many others
like 10
will
years
say,
ago.
well, this is a shock today to find that he's been arrested in this way.
You know, it's like, again, the whole thing. If he was one of the immigrants that they let into the country that they're not allowed to talk about over there, probably never would have made the news. England is a cesspool right now. There's people getting killed in the streets and all these things. And if you say anything against the monarchy or anything against the immigrants in that country, you go to jail. And apparently they're trying to use this to cover up something. I don't know. They're doing something that's kind of weird on that. So I don't know, the whole situation, everything that's going on, I think that, Pam Bondi needs to do something more. They need to do something here in the United States immediately. If they can arrest monarchy, they can arrest half the people that are in office. And look at the Pritzkers. Look at Thomas Pritzker, who just resigned from Hyatt Hotels over his ties to Epstein. Look at the Clintons. Look at Bill and Hillary. If they can arrest a king or a queen, they could definitely arrest a former president. Look at George W. Bush. He's not around, but they could definitely bring something out against him on that. But I will say, here's the bombshell that nobody's talking about. Virginia Giuffre isn't the only victim coming forward. Multiple sources confirm that Andrew's arrest is connected to new allegations from witnesses who were previously too scared to speak. The Epstein client list isn't just names on paper anymore. It's active criminal evidence, and Andrew is just the beginning of what's coming, hopefully, if we do our jobs. And guys, this is what real justice looks like when the people demand it loud enough and long enough. For decades, Prince Andrew hid behind his royal privilege and Brit posh and palace lawyers while his victims suffered in silence. Today, on his 66th birthday, that protection evaporated. The crown couldn't save him, his titles couldn't save him, and his connections couldn't save him. And we need to replicate that here into the United States, because this has to send a message to every other elite predator. Your time is coming. The American people have been watching this cover-up for years, demanding accountability while the establishment looks the other way. Now we're seeing what happens when enough pressure builds up, even royalty is not untouchable. So do you think this arrest will finally lead to real justice for Epstein's victims? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments. And while you guys are there, make sure you check out the Next News merch shop for that gear that shows that you stand with truth and wear it with pride.
The system controls information. Information control is power. They don't want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now. You know out.